Hello, everyone. Oh, try that again. Hello, everyone. Who's joining us on the recording. This is Monday, 24th August, and we are sharing. We've just shared a bit of a landing, and we've started our conversation about Women's Health Week. We haven't actually done a check-in, and I think I would enjoy to hear a couple of people's voices as a check-in and a landing, and then we'll go back to Women's Health Week, and I have the page open so we can investigate a little more how that is. So can I put the talking stick in the middle, and can I hear a few check-ins? Just briefly, what's alive for you? How are you showing up?
I'm really happy when I got on and saw Barbara there. Hi, Barbara. Because I saw you during the retreat and then I didn't see you again, and I wondered if, I think because you weren't a presenter at the time, if that meant you dropped off, and I was feeling sad about that. So, yay. Hand over to someone else.
I'm sorry. I've had a surgery done on my leg and I'm resting and going to see the surgeon today, and so that's why I'm in this reclined position, if you were wondering. And I kind of wanted to ask Karen if you were going to share that bit about the intention of these sessions on the recording, because that seemed like a really important piece for other people to hear as well. So that's what's there for me.
Thank you, Shaz. And now I'm holding time is so precious that I'm torn, and I'll have a go and see if I can do it in 2 sentences. So the intention of these Monday sessions, apart from this beautiful holding of the thread from the retreat that we're doing as a connecting experience, is just, have that sense of connection, is to actually have it as a news channel. So when you, if you feel inspired to share like what's happening in your hub, a piece of news, something you're wanting to offer, if you have a sense of excitement about an idea that's come to you, or someone who's approached you and said, hey, this would be a great idea for Wise Women Rising, if you have updates that you'd like to share with us about something that you're working on, this, for me, Mondays is really a touch base, a news space to come and share announcements and pieces of news. And that as best as I can, I'll bring those that I have. So if it's conversations I've had, or pieces of news or offers that I've received, or different things that are happening, that I bring them to this Monday space, and then we record them. And so if you aren't able to be here on a Monday, you can tap back into this recording from each Monday and catch up with where we are. Or if you have something that you want to share with someone and you've shared about it in the Monday call, you can point people to the recording and say, here's what I shared. So thank you, Shez. Still not as articulate and clear as I might like, but I'm practicing, happy about that. And just so that we all have a clearer stepping forward of like, what are the pieces of the community? How does it all fit together? So Monday is News Day. So on that basis, today's sort of news piece is really centered around Women's Health Week, because we have it coming up 7th of September for a week. And I will share the share screen and go to the Women's Health Week website just briefly to orient us to what Kat was saying about the open nature of the event, like that you can come on board, join events and activities in your local area, or that some of them are online. It says there's 687 events across Australia so far. So I see a location button here. I'm just going to hit, there's no online option. Okay, so there's only yeah, Shez?
Yeah, that was my, I mean, maybe if we click on Victoria,
Yeah,
I mean,
there's
they can do things in rural areas, perhaps, I don't know, but we don't have any other choice but online.
Well, my sense is, having looked at it previously, there's some here, Victoria, New South Wales, and I did actually go to.
Yeah, I went there and it didn't show. I clicked on that very one and I went there and there was nothing.
So my memory is that I went to an organisation called. It was for postnatal depression, and they're a national organisation, and they'd put in an event every day, but they were online. They were doing something online every day. So I know that we're not the only ones offering online.
Okay.
But I do want to reassure you. And I agree with Kat, like there's just so many offerings. There's so many offerings here that it is just show up and offer what you feel alive to offer. Like it's a really
I think I thought it was a bit more like what we were doing. So I'm more informed now. Thank you, Kat. It makes sense that's what it is.
So here's an example: Women's Health Week that's probably a health centre in Dalesford. And so we could have like a Wise Women Rising Women's Health Week event as one event on one of those days where we all just turn up and enjoy each other's company, and then just on the odd possibility someone goes to that site and out of the 600 and whatever's number of events they choose ours and come along. Or we can just see it as an opportunity for us to get together to have an event or a couple of events where we support one another again, like we did at the retreat, to offer something for each other's well-being, and just maybe and post it on Women's Health Week with the option that perhaps we can invite people in that we know, or we can let it be that our offering is at least an opportunity for us to be like, okay, we're practicing putting ourselves out in public as a collective. And even if we put out one event and get together as a women's circle, that would be that would be enough for me. And at the same time, I had a conversation with Samantha Rennie last night, who's more than happy to offer a grieving, particularly a grieving education circle, or actually more like a grief circle this time, to help people who've experienced grief and loss and are having to navigate the COVID experience. So not being able to have funerals like we used to, not being able to. And what occurred to me after that incredible conversation with her was, wow, we could do, because Shez, you'd offered something on the Facebook page that was grief oriented as well. And I went, maybe Women's Health Week, maybe our offering is something that's oriented around healthy grieving, or healthy, reclaiming a sense of how we be with grief in a way that is supportive of us. Like, even if Chris, I had the thought, we could do a compassionate listening session where we just, so something started to emerge as like, could we do something that was themed? But I just wanted to hear from people today, like because it'd be good for us to get clear and put up something. And I'm not wanting to make that a rush, just I wanted to hear voices today about it.
Can I speak to that?
Yeah.
Because that was the idea that came to me. Mine was about navigating lockdown losses. And then I had this thought, I watched Kat's interview about her exhibition, the video, and she talked about grief and how painting really gives an expression to grief that we're not particularly connected to, that doesn't even have words. And I found that, that's also my experience. It was really inspiring. And I thought, what if we did almost like this is a portal into a lot of different ways to be with grief. Like, I'm sitting here looking at Jeanette and thinking, there's beautiful poetry, you know, painting, art, empathic listening, all sorts of different ways, windows into grief that movement, like I was thinking about Annie and movement too, meditation, like there could be just all these different, like a diamond, different facets and access to how we can navigate grief in lots of different ways was my thought.
Gosh, I'm enjoying the synergy and how that seems to, that's alive for you too. And I'm curious, how is it landing with others in the room, and if there's other ideas that have been alive as well? I love that windows of grief expression. Yes, me too. Yeah, Kat.
Could it be called being with grief or windows of grief, or, you know, I really like the kind of idea of people just sitting with their grief, but not many people have the skills to do that. Like a lot of people I've been speaking to recently are skillless around grief. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like building grieving skills, but we don't have to kind of point that out. You know, like it's a kind of, I mean, yeah, anyway, that's my kind of, I think the theme around grief at the moment, because of the magnitude of loss, is a really fantastic one. And, you know, I like the idea of starting with a grief circle and, you know, personally building skills and, you know, having a range of things that people can choose from. I think that's a really lovely idea. I'd be really curious to see how we do that as a one long workshop or little tiny ones. Then anyway, I like that idea. I'm happy with it.
I was imagining different sessions rather than a long thing. Yeah, anyway, that was just my...
And I always think I'd love the ritual that we did, Chez, that in your session, to have that as part of it, to release and let go and have a bit of acceptance around the forms of grief that we're experiencing during lockdown. Because yeah, I sometimes love to paint or write or whatever, and we all have our different experiences, so we, of course, we'd have to express it in different ways, and I think creating that space would be amazing. I'm for it.
So maybe what I'll offer then, as while we're sitting with it, is maybe what I'd like is, if you have a thought and you would like to add it, but you don't want to come on camera and chat about it, just add it in the chat for us. Like if there's a comment or a idea as it comes up for life, if you're not wanting to speak directly. What's here for me is to go to the calendar and sort of have a sense of, do we do this as a, like it could be a one-day event and we do it in parts over the day, or we could do it as sessions, one per day, or we could just, like I said to Sam Rennie last night, tell me when you would like to host it within that time frame, within that sort of the 7th to the 11th, like nominate a day and a time and a title, and I'll put an event listing together where we can come and register for it, an RSVP for it. So I think I'm in that mode just now and curious, are we even at that point? Like what else is here? Like in terms of like, do we want to at least name one event as a women's circle that we come together and we call that the beginning, and then maybe set some other events up behind it, but have like a community circle, at least one event where we hope everybody can come as best we can, invite everyone and have one women's circle. And maybe what we do at that women's circle is actually introduce the different ideas that are alive for the rest of the week. So that it's an opportunity to invite people in, to land into their body. Maybe Chez, it would be a part of the welcoming to the ritual of the week and speaking about the windows into grief and setting some container, and then having a few of us share about that. So sort of naming it, setting the intention, bringing the community together to talk it through and share some of the offerings. How is that landing?
I just had a kind of image of like an open space circle where, Are there people who don't know open space as a technology? Can you let me know by putting your hand up if you don't know? 1, 2, 3. Okay. Thank you. It's traditional in NVC gatherings to have this open space where, what Karen said, you know, people say, well, I would like to offer X, and in a physical gathering there's breakout rooms, and it's like, well, I'm doing it in the butterfly room in the second session. And although then if someone says something that I then want to go to that's at the same time, then I might move mine. It's a bit of a, it's like, oh, well, no, I really want to go to that. So I don't know, open space online could be an interesting experiment. It may not be the right time to do it. So, and we could just keep it simple by having a schedule, and we go to what we can go to, and, you know, watch recordings if we can't go to it. But yeah, I like that idea of people doing a little pitch about their session. What I'm offering at this time on this day is blah, and this is why. And it's a little piece of maybe storytelling about why I'm offering this, what calls me, and what I imagine you would get out of it. We could do, yeah, get a bit of practice at doing that. Lucy wants to say something.
I'm liking all of those ideas and suggestions, but I'm also finding myself a little bit confused as to who are we presenting this to? Is it within our own Wise Women Rising circle, or are we appealing to external people? Yeah, so is this something we're doing for ourselves, or is this something that we're trying to invite other women to, you know, to what we are presenting, which may or may not interest or fit in with people in the Wise Women Rising kind of group. And I do like I like the idea around loss and grief, and I think Barbara made a comment about that grief might not be the right word to use, especially if we're appealing to a wider group, because not everybody understands grief in the same in the same way that we might use the word grief. And I think loss is probably has a wider reach in terms of who would understand what we're sort of talking about. So I'm finding myself quite confused, because I think there'll be different approach to whether we are appealing or we're just focusing on just presenting to our own group, or whether we are wanting to include people from external sources, from wherever else they might come from.
Thank you, Lucy. I really understand. And there's a couple of things alive for me in response. So in the retreat, we were all single leaders, like single retreat facilitators. And that's where I think some of this is coming from, is that there could be multiple people that play a role in hosting this particular circle that's starting to emerge in terms of discussion. So it could be multiple people hosting and holding. And in terms of audience, I think that it's potentially an opportunity to invite other people in, and that primarily we're resonating with the people who resonate with us already. So it's almost like psychologically we can think about it. We are hosting it for each other. We are hosting it for women who resonate with the sort of expression and sort of work we do, and the sort of sense of community that we value. And because my sense is we won't turn up any different to how we turn up now. So there's this sense of like, we're just going to turn up as a community like we do, that a couple of us might get clear that we're wanting to make offers at the opening circle. Maybe it's that sort of opening circle event where we invite our community to come back together for Women's Health Week, and we name the offerings that are alive, and people name it and claim it in that opening circle, that, you If they haven't already booked in an event, they might have something come up alive for them to offer at that opening circle. And that it could be then breakouts at that time, or it could be we collect all of the offerings and then I put a schedule together and then we go and visit with each other's events after that one. Is that making sense? And how is it landing as well? So like the first one could be a multi-person, like basically a community space where we all come in and a few people hold space and make offerings and share, and that's very collaborative, and that's where as a community we harvest what events we would like to do for the rest of the week. But it's also the one that I would include inviting other people into, and it's the one I would put up on the schedule on the Women's Health Week. Hi Irene, thanks for joining us. Yes, I have this sense of it's still forming and I'm okay with it being a bit uncomfortable because we're in this creative consideration of it. So yeah, I want to put the talking stick down again and just sit with it for a minute myself, if there's more alive. Maybe I can include you, Irene. We're just sitting with some creative consideration of Women's Health Week as a community. We're talking about an open space circle at the beginning of Women's Health Week on the 7th, probably, to call the community together to talk about, maybe it's to talk about women's health, what that means to us, and that there's also an intention or a calling that's starting to emerge around looking through the different windows of loss and grief, and particularly because there's a COVID, yeah, please do come in, Shez, on this, because I'm articulating best version I can at the minute. Yeah, to acknowledge and be with and support women who are experiencing loss and grief in this time.
Did you want to speak, Barbara? The thought that came to me as you were speaking was maybe it's about the different windows into women's mental health, and lockdown losses being one of them. I don't know, that makes it a bit broader. I mean, I kind of really, it seems appropriate at this particular time to go with lockdown losses because pretty much most people are experiencing losses of one kind or another, or numerous. And another thing that came to me was, anger. Oh, I got excited about doing something on anger because some people are really fucking pissed. Oh, sorry. I forgot this is being recorded. Yeah, really, really pissed off about it. And anger is our life force. And there's not really, people talk about positive, staying positive, staying upbeat. And I'm like, what about getting down and dirty with how angry I feel? Like, could we have a space for that? Could we have a space for crying, wailing, like bit of earth here, bit of guts, bit of, get down and like, even my body's moving and my body temperature's rising as I talk about it. I can see my face going red. But there's not a place for that in in people's homes. We might need to invite them to go and sit in your car so you can do a bit of something or other. Like, yeah, that's what's arisen in me.
See, now we're talking. And what I love about this is that when I look at the program, I don't see safe places for really digging into what we're experiencing. And I actually see this as like Wise Women Rising being activists by activating safe spaces for this sort of self-expression.
Yeah, I think I do too. Well, obviously, because I just spoke it. And I'm wondering how it is for other people. I'd love to hear from others because it's important. And there's, you know, there could be just numbness or anxiety, or that's what I meant about, you know, looking through different windows.
I've just come from a funeral service online, and what I'm kind of aware of is the challenge of shifting gears, you know. Sorry, my camera's slow. Of being able to adapt and have something like an amazing service, and there's only 10 people at it, but it was as if we were there. So I guess it's something around, I think of the book, the story called Who Moved, about two mice called Who Moved My Cheese? And I don't know if you're familiar with it, but that's an amazing, amazing book. And it's about one mouse responds in a certain way when the cheese is moved and goes out looking for somewhere else, you know, oh, what? And the other one's like a complaint about, I'll just stop my video just a second. Just that capacity to adapt, because that's what we're being called to do as well. Thank you.
Oh, I'm so grateful you bring that piece too, Irene. And this is why it matters to me that we host a space where we get to hear each other's voices like this, and actually just call everyone back together to offer these wisdoms. Because when I hear that, Irene, I go, yeah, even that as a little breakout of a story time where we can turn off our cameras and lie back and you can read the story to us. Like, I mean, learning from each other and making it in ways that are playful and restful, as well as cathartic and energy moving, or grief, you know, sharing grief and practicing skills. Like, there's so many layers already that I'm hearing in what we as a collective can bring to life. And that's why I get so excited. It's like, oh, here we go again. Like, there's energy building around the different dimensions or the different windows into relating with loss. And if we called it lockdown losses, I think that does resonate broadly, but that we have a community circle at the beginning to, and maybe we make it at this time on that Monday, so that we can call it community circle, but it's like calling everyone together to talk about lockdown losses as a theme and women's health as a theme. I don't know, it's still a bit vague. How are we going? Is there more? Because I love that, Irene, thank you. Maybe if we just offer what we can into the space and then let it sit for a day or two, and then I can go back and watch this and like harvest out the notes and come back to the group with an offering as well.
Chris, do you have anything? I'd kind of love to hear from everybody if you're willing, and if not, that's okay too. But I'm just
the little thing that came to me then as a one possible framework for our first session maybe is something like under a kind of a general theme of lockdown. What are just a little exploration of what different feelings are you experiencing? Like we've already had anger and grief, and I think you could say something, Irene was kind of alluding to something a little bit like discombobulation about change. you know, sometimes an opportunity to articulate, put into words, oh, what's going on for me, and what's that connected to? What are the needs that's around, can be helpful. So that was what.
Yeah, thanks. Or even like the opportunity to actually go, oh, what am I feeling? What is happening for me? Would be, yeah, great. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. Now we're in the realms of the women's circle that was when I was offering, like, could we just have a women's circle as our first? That's what was there for me. It's like, how about we just come together and name that it's Women's Health Week and that we're considering lockdown losses as one of the themes, but just come into this space, this first orientation circle where just share what's alive, like what feelings you're feeling as part of this. Because I actually imagine that hearing all the different dimensions of what's happening for people emotionally would just really be medicine to all of what we're experiencing. Because I know for me, I go through all of them: the discombobulation, the anger, the grief, the numbness, you know, the different realms of responses to change that is part of this transition that I'm imagining is very human for everybody. So it would be wonderful to have that sense of sharing and community connection and soothing is what comes to me. And then we see that as an opportunity afterwards to break out into, maybe it's a little mini room after, if we come together as a big circle, and maybe there's, you know, 20 or so, or if we invite some friends and there's a few more, that we then break into smaller groups if we need to be able to have a circle of 5 or 6 or so that we can do that. But in that case, I would be keen to have an NVC or facilitator host person in each of the circles, just to hold care for the space and time sharing. Something like that's alive. Like, do we need to facilitate? Like, that's the next question. Then if we're more than this size, I think it would be valuable to have someone hosting in the rooms, maybe
To hold care for time and yeah.
And even like, I wonder about the value of reflecting. Even if we just take turns, like if one person shares and the next person reflects a little of what that person shared, and then starts, and then the next person shares and reflects a bit what they've just heard and then starts, so that we actually have that sense of being seen and known and named, our experience being named and then passing along.
Karen, can I ask, with your thinking just then, is it that there would be this circle and we are recording it, and the recording will be posted on that website that you showed us? Or is the invitation to join the circle for anybody who goes on that website, is aware of Women's Health Week, can you know, how open is it, if you get what I mean? Is it going to be done live through that site somehow, or is it pre-recorded and then put on that site?
No, well, I don't see it that they have a place where we can put up recordings, so it's not like what we did at the retreat so much. I would see that it's just a place we can put like a little ad, like basically there's 690 whatever, however many there were, little ads for what different community groups are doing for Women's Health Week. I would say the chances of people potentially coming, unless we personally invite them, is pretty small from putting up an ad on that page. However, I think it's an honourable thing to do, in terms of that's the intention, is to actually create something that someone who might be in need and reads our description and goes, that's exactly what I need, and goes, oh, I don't even know who these people are, but I'm going to go. That's fine. Like, I feel excited that we might land with someone that way and that have them come. and I can see that the majority of who's going to come is either Wise Women Rising and or a couple of their referral friends. So it's essentially going to be a community event, is what I see. It's just that we're putting it up for other people to be able to come. And no,
thank
I
you
would
for that.
say
Claudia.
recording, unless we record it for our own purposes and put it in our private Facebook group for anyone who can't be there. Like, that would be a lovely offering just into the community, because that's private behind our membership anyway. So that depends. We can discuss that ourselves.
Kat looks like she's
Good.
got something to
Thank
say.
you.
Karen, back to the facilitation in each room. I actually thought, just to speak to that, I thought that was a really positive idea, having been in breakout spaces where and groups where there hasn't been someone with those skills in it, and especially because all of us are really kind of familiar with a pattern of response and behaviour within Wise Women Rising. If we're asking new people, it might be nice. Might be a positive thing to have someone to, you know, be able to hold and redirect the space in times of really huge emotion, because I imagine that there's going to be a lot of outpouring. So I'd be really supportive of that idea.
Thanks, Kat. I almost have a sense like it wouldn't meet my needs for care and safety. Like, yeah,
exactly.
if there's not someone in a role who can hold and receive whatever gets put on the table and then be able to gently redirect or gently move to the next person when it's appropriate, like to be able to hold if we do get.
I think that's really valuable.
Yeah.
I speak to the recording. I don't think, personally, from my perspective, I would want any of emotion that I was sharing to be recorded. That's just how I feel.
I appreciate that feedback, actually. Thank you. Like the intimacy question is really important to me, that it's safe to share what's alive. And yeah, what I'm imagining, Kat, is that we could do a check-in about recording at the beginning, and if there's an overwhelming no, that we just don't do it, and if there's a willingness, that we ask the people for whom they would not like to be recorded is actually just turn their camera off, and they even change their name if they want to on there, so that they actually have anonymity and can still share in if they would like. I don't know if that would be a compromise that you could live with, or just like looking for ways to include those who might not be able to attend. If we had it on a Monday, I know some people work on a Monday and couldn't be there, but would really value to be included. So just curious about, would you be willing to say back how that is for you, Kat?
I don't know at this point. I like the idea of introducing, you know, you're introducing the group and everyone's checking in through the circle. But yeah, I don't know at this point.
Yeah.
My preference is always for a safe space that at any point can't be eroded by some hacker, as if they'd want to anyway. But just, I think there's value in both, for both. So maybe it's just a case of, you know, like you said, having the option of not sharing, just being part of it, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, let's come back to it. Let's sit with it. I think that there's, you know, what I'm hearing is some needs alive for you that I really value. And there's other needs alive that I'm sitting with and holding as precious. And I'm just exploring how that is in me. I don't have a clarity yet. And we may get to a place where we just rest the recording idea and move forward, because actually what I'm most in service of is that the circle be a place where we can get real about the lockdown losses and experience that sense of authenticity and sharing that is, going to be soothing and acknowledging, and that we get seen in our humanity in a way that serves the life in the group. Yeah, I noticed it's 6 minutes to go. I would love to hear like a checkout. I did have a couple of quick mini announcements to make, so but that'll take me about a minute. So would we like to do a checkout round? Where are we now? About Women's Health Week, or just where you are now?
Just say, I think for me the concept of this open community gathering is taking shape in my head, and I think that's a good sort of space to offer for people to come together and just talk about exactly what it is that they're experiencing without necessarily having a particular stream to follow. It's, you know, it's just whatever people are feeling, and it might be that that's the only thing that we do, and that will be enough in that sense, that we don't really need to be offering a whole heap of things as well. But I also agree with Kat about the recording of it. I'm always sensitive about it, especially when people are being vulnerable and they're talking about you know, the demons or the deep-seated emotions. And you know, as I mean, I work with people on a one-to-one basis, and I just, and the trust that and that safety that you create for people to be able to freely express what they're going through. I wouldn't want that to be recorded for anyone to go back and look into. I just, you know, it doesn't sit well with me to have that recorded, either for me to participate in that or for me to share. It just doesn't feel right for me. But I understand, you know, that may be the beginning of it, but I mean, you know, sometimes if people miss out, I suppose that's how it is, you know, you can't make it, you can't make it. Yeah. So yeah, so that's where I'm at.
Thank you. I really value that too. And maybe there is a part of an introduction part where we're getting together, where we can connect and we can record that piece, and then we can close it so that we can have, and we did that a couple of times in the retreat actually. We recorded the first half or the first introduction piece, and then we closed the recording. So thanks, that even brings more clarity of how we might navigate it. Yeah, can I pass to you, Barbara?
Okay. I really like the idea of a space to get angry and loud. That sounded really awesome, and that just sparked all kinds of ideas and memories of that. And I was thinking something that popped into my head from myself was how fizzy and light Ardha Chandrasana, half moon pose, can make you feel, and that maybe I could add some kind of offering to bring us into that, using just what's in the house as either a little session or a longer session. And so yeah, it just got me sort of thinking about that, and then now I have to pay attention again, and I was sort of drifting, so sorry.
I love that you were. I love that you're off in your creative thinking about that, because that sounds awesome. And I think what's true for me is I'm hearing both are possible. I'm hearing that if there's some aliveness to offer something, and Sam Rennie already has, I'm like, okay, well, let's go with a community circle on the Monday, on the 7th, as an opener to the whole Women's Health Week, that we're coming together as a community to acknowledge that, honor that, bring alive what's in us, and have that be a women's circle. And then the rest of the week, if there's offerings that you would like to bring, and Barbara, please bring that. That sounds awesome. And then we'll just add them into more of like the members' offerings. So these are opportunities for you to decide whether or not you want to make them public. But at the moment, let's say they're member offerings, unless you want to make them more broadly available. Because I would, at this point, I'm thinking, well, Sam, I'm guessing will make hers more publicly available. So that's an option for the rest of the week. But I'm happy to host the event and put up a little place where people can come and register for that. And so, yeah, my invitation is, if you have something alive to offer, please send me the name of it, the day and time of it, the length of it, the description of it, and a photo, so that I can add it as an event on the website, and then I will send you back a link and you can edit it for me if there's any last changes. But I'll just say it again, or you can rewind the recording maybe, but it's day and time, length, name, description, photo in that week, 7th to the 11th.
You put that in the email that you sent.
Oh, only to you. Did I? Oh, no, I did. No, I did send that broadly. Or did I send it? I sent one to you because I knew you had an offering.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I'll send out a general about that one with those notes. Yeah. Irene, would you like to check out? It's right on time, but I figured we can hear each other's voices.
It was good to catch up and hear what you're up to for Women's Health Week, and that's really all that I've got.
Thank you, Irene. Chris?
I notice a little battle going on inside my head whenever there's some kind of event and some possibility of me offering something, and one voice, there's lots of shoulds, you know, and so I'm bringing that back to feeling a little torn, and the thing that keeps coming up more strongly for me is to look after myself and to take some space over the next few weeks and to give myself a bit more ease. So to enjoy being a participant and not necessarily, not offering something separate, but being part of the circle in the beginning. I could imagine being there for that. Yeah. Ooh. So looking after myself. That's
Yay,
really self.
beautiful. You know, that speaks to me so beautifully, that we are helping hold each other through this time. I tell myself that I don't know that I would have the energy right now to conjure an event on my own, but the sense of landing into a community where we can just like have a part contribution to something wonderful, I feel really held by that. I don't feel like that's going to be big hard works. And at the same time, like I heard someone else share last night about that being torn, and that in that there's a creative tension always in that space of will I, won't I produce something, will I be creative and share something. There's of course some resistance in have I got enough time? What can I do? What will I pull together? Like that, the mind can get really carried away really quickly about, so just naming that that's part of an activation experience. If you're going to activate and bring something to life, that you will get all the resistance come to you straight away. That's part of what happens. So just naming that. Thank you, Chris. Cheers.
Yeah, I suddenly feel weary, not sure why. Yeah, I've got lots of ideas. I think there was something there for me about with the anger and the physicality and wanting to, I don't know, add in that would occur in the context of the intention to connect, that it's wouldn't just be a catharsis, and there's in NVC there's a really beautiful way to navigate anger that's very productive, that actually taps into that life force, and that's an impetus to move forward, and it's not just about catharsis. I was nervous that it sounded like that's what I was suggesting, just getting angry. So yeah, no, I've got a few ideas that I might need to distill down into something.
Thank you. I'm really loving the possibility that you bring those and name those at the circle, because even just naming anger and the value of it, even that is a piece of that, you know, something really wonderful to offer. As a little mini intro to what you might do as your own session.
Yeah,
is what's occurring, like an open space intro to this is what I'm offering, and I'm offering it on Tuesday. Or
I did wonder about putting up some of my ideas on the Facebook page and seeing what response they get.
Yeah, please, that'd be amazing.
Get some feedback.
Yeah, and maybe we can ask others to do that too. Just if you have ideas and you want to check feedback and get some encouragement, or have ideas alive, please bring them in the Facebook page and we'll support you to ponder it. Kat, did you want to check out?
Come back, cat.
Come back, Kat.
Pussycat.
I'm sorry, I am here. It's very exciting. It's very exciting. The group, it'll be. I think it's a be really innovative online kind of community thing to do. I think it'd be really fascinating to be part of, like a really great experience. I'm looking forward to it. I like the way it's taken shape slowly. So it's, it's very exciting.
Yeah, I have bubbles, aliveness, gratitude, curiosity. Oh, we've moved something forward. Thank you so much, everyone. And I will do my best to harvest it and then write a description into the Facebook page and ask for feedback on that. The last two things I just wanted to share very quickly. And if you can't stay, that's okay. Don't feel obliged. I'm just going to share the notes that I had for today, because I had a couple of updates, and Kat, your and my conversation, I wanted to share with everyone about, hello, Harry. Wanted to share with everyone about the conversation you and I had about the Let's Stay Connected grant, about the fact that you're advising us to set up as our co-op structure and get prepared for the new round of funding that you have heard is in the winds for January, February next year. So to not try to bunker down, because we didn't get a grant writer for this round, and it's getting a bit close to the due date, cutoff date. And as it is, we're not actually structured and ready yet to receive $50,000. Like, we're just not at that place where we're sort of ready for that, but we could be by December. And we have got some movement forward around the co-op idea. So I just did want to name that it seems we're heading down the path of co-op. I would really love other people's feedback and experiences to add to what we learned from Mel Gilch on Wednesday. So it's a real invitation. Please come and contribute. Either come and have a conversation with me or add it to the Facebook group. Links, resources, conversations you think we should start around the co-op idea, and the organizational development or community development hub will help me filter and hold your offerings about that. Jeanette has offered that she's so full with participating in the new local that she'll look forward to informing us at the end of the workshop series. Now she's actually asked for understanding that it's just so much being a participant. She's not up to the place of giving us all feedback each week. And it did occur to me that we could create a thinking environment to take the Women's Health Week idea to the next level with some more thinking around it. I just thought, we could bring some thinking structure, but that's not what happened today. I'm really open to us just practicing with different tools and modalities as we experience collaboration, and some structure around that. I thought, we could have that conversation as well. So that's just a quick shot at the news for this week. Please feel welcome to share your updates with me. I did want to name that we've had a couple of hubs get started, which I'm super excited about. There's actually one hub meeting tomorrow. I do encourage hubs to start to think about connecting for your first meeting. And I would hope that maybe next Monday we can have a check-in from one of the hubs to share what their first experience was like having a meeting and like getting started. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for the time, and thanks for staying a little longer till we completed. See everybody next week, if not before. Lots of love. Thanks everyone. Bye for now. Bye.